Hey, you might want to put it on
Are you
silent.
focused?
Yes, sir.
Bishop? Yeah, I'm focused on. Hey, man,
Okay,
what was this?
y'all ready?
We were gonna put off
We
the
pulled
election.
up, we're ready.
Is this when the
Y'all have been
school's
ready,
done?
hadn't you? About 3 minutes.
I thought we were putting off.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to June 14th Board of Supervisors meeting. Called to order at this time and ask Mr. Slay if he'd mind doing the invocation.
Right. Father, what a beautiful day it is, what a glorious day it is to be in your presence. Father, to be here with these folks who are ready, willing, and able to step out and serve this community. Pray, Father, that you'll give them the energy and the courage that they need to make good decisions today. Father, that they would have the wisdom that they need to make good decisions today. Father, you give us traveling mercies as we head to the coast to do your business there, Father, to learn more, to be better equipped so that we can serve this community. Father, thank you for giving us a government in which we can participate and providing us a place where we can come, gather together, and seek to do the best interest of all citizens of our community. Father, you bless us abundantly. You've given us people who serve and protect us. Lord, I pray you protect them, bring them home safely to their families. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Hey, Nick, huh?
He's running.
I see, okay. Okay, all right. Whole business,
Make a motion to approve.
motion approved by Brad,
Second.
second by, who's down there?
Games?
All right, Daniel, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion approved by Daniel, second by Steve.
Hey,
Any discussion? Yeah.
when is the school election for officers?
It will be the same time as every other election, which
Is it this year?
November. Well, I think they've got a seat that has to be filled, if I recall.
In November?
Yes, sir, that'll be done at the, quote, regular special election, which is the November election day.
Okay, so we're
They
doing
want to make
this-
sure they're on that November
Yeah,
special.
that's what all this is about, setting that.
Yes, so on the agenda under me, you'll be taking care of your constable, I think it's under me.
It's on the consent.
Yeah, you'll be taking care of your constable vacancy.
Oh, I thought it was on the consent. All right,
Your constable vacancy is under me today.
all right.
I don't know what the school district, they are required, the board is required to notify the circuit clerk, just like we are, of any vacancy in one of their board positions, Jay. Whether they've done that or not, I don't know. They still have plenty of time, but they need to take care of that. They need to notify the circuit clerk that there's a vacancy.
All right.
And they need to ask the circuit clerk to impanel the election
Okay.
for the school board. That's not y'all's responsibility.
Hey, Mac, Bishop's retiring?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Who?
Bishop, one of the deputies.
Okay.
That was it,
Anything
yeah.
else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ms. Caroline Gilbert.
So I'll
okay.
make a motion to handle items A and B as stated for Caroline.
Okay, motion by Daniel to
Stole your
approve
thunder.
There you go.
Second by
Keith is ready to go.
Steve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? John Sullivan.
Well,
Keith, I guess that you again, huh?
Caroline had two, so you did both on
A
the-
and B, A
did
and B
both.
to approve on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did them both.
All right, so I'll go out on a full limb here for Sullivan. So items A, B, and C, which these are all tax sale refunds, it looks like, except the first one. First one's that change in assessment of real property. So I'll make a motion to approve A, B, and C as stated on the agenda. for
Second.
Mr. Sullivan.
Motion approved by Mr. Sullivan's fill in. Daniel, and second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
We're gonna make Mike speak, is what I say. I ain't doing it for Harrison. He don't have a button-up, hey,
I got one more for me.
well, I was going to, but you didn't have a button-up shirt on. You got a golf shirt on today? Hey,
Flip-flop.
I ain't never seen you in a golf shirt. Is that Mavericks? Or is that yours? Huh? I thought you only had them button downs there. I didn't know. No, words are smaller than that. White words are smaller than that.
Yeah, I request approval for Telepac Network, ceasefire utility permit, Verizon Business Grover ceasefire, construct fiber optic service along across Peleac Shore in between 0.0 and 3.29 in District 2.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Daniel, second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, bud.
Mr. Slade.
Mr. President, item A is to set a public hearing for July 1, 9 a.m. That's the Jimmy Allen nuisance property at Leesburg. It's District 4 property. I'd like a motion on that one.
Motion.
Motion set to public hearing by Steve, second by Jay.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item B has been resolved, and therefore there is no need to set a public hearing for item B. Items C and D are also set public hearings. Those are both nuisance property considerations. One is District 3 and District 4. I'd like a motion to set items C and D.
So moved.
Motion set,
Second.
public hearing.
I'll
C and
second.
D by Steve, Jay, Jay.
I did it, yeah.
Jay, second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item E is to set a hearing for July 6th at 9 a.m. for the Hayman conditional use permit on Mount Helm. That's a District 4, so that would be set on July 6th.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Jay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
We've got 3 public hearings today. The first is item F, public hearing for the Mason Rogers conditional use permit, 248 Mount Helm Road, this is District 2. Mr. Rogers is seeking a conditional use permit to place a manufactured home at 248 Mount Helm Road. This is a 2.57 acre parcel that's owned by his grandparents. Property is zoned RE1. Mr. Rogers is applying under the hardship section of the RE1 zone. We don't allow mobile homes outright in RE1. We don't even allow them as conditional use. We have a hardship section that allows, upon request, that we consider it a hardship. And then you're allowed to set conditions on that. His grandparents are elderly. His grandfather has health issues that require constant care. He hasn't purchased a manufactured home at this time. He's considering the purchase of a home that's about 35 years old. It's an 86 model, yeah, 35. It's an 86 model single wide. If the application is approved, a separate acre will be deeded out for the home. So at this time, we'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Mason Rogers conditional use permit request. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition. Are you Ms. Rogers? Yes.
I've got one thing. I know
Okay. Go
Ms.
forward,
Renee had
please.
some, we had some restrictions, I don't wanna call them restrictions, but
Yes.
requirements we asked to that. Do you mind
Yep.
explaining to him again what those were?
Let me
We
go
had our
over.
barriers. You got them?
Yep, I've got them right here,
Perfect.
Daniel. Let me, Renee put these together, and her team. We would propose conditions as follows. Your granting of a conditional use under the hardship section would be conditioned on the following: that the applicant provides verification of the hardship condition. That's number one. The existing wooded buffer that is along Highway 25 that borders this property must remain in place. The manufactured home is allowed to remain until the hardship has been remediated, removed, eliminated. Once the hardship goes away, then we must transition from a manufactured home to a compliant structure on whatever the resulting property is at that time. There will be some period of time after the removal of the hardship that this board could consider. We're not making a recommendation on the length of time, but some period of time needs to be allowed for the transition of the manufactured home to a permanent structure that's compliant. And we must receive all of the paperwork, and it's premature now, but it would be a condition that we receive all of the paperwork from the State Health Department with respect to the effluent for the mobile home. So I would ask Mr. Rogers, you understand those conditions?
Are you good with all those? Okay. So with that being said, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Daniel, second by Steve. Any more discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
For the record, we'll close that public hearing. Item G under the public hearing section is the Martin Blau conditional use permit, 382 Barker Road, District 4 property. We'll open that public hearing. Mr. Blau is seeking a conditional use permit to operate a business that will process used cooking oil for resale to the animal food industry. Property is located at 382 Barker Road. It's in District 4. It's a 75.29 acre parcel that's zoned A2. Light and heavy industrial uses in A2 are listed as conditional uses. No chemicals will be used in the refinement process. Just solar heat is all that is required to cause a separation of the water and the oil that is kept in tanks. Average Mississippi temperatures are favorable for the majority of the year to provide the required heat source for separation purposes. To the extent that it's necessary, a small electric boiler will be used when temperatures are lower than required to cause a separation. Once the water is separated from the other material, it's extracted and taken off-site to be disposed of by a licensed company. The applicant contacted MDEQ to see if any permits would be required by MDEQ. Since no chemicals are being used, there will be no emissions from and there will be no emissions from the electric boiler. An MDEQ permit is not required. That public hearing is open. I will ask, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the Martin Blau conditional use permit request? Anyone to speak in opposition on that matter? I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition. I don't know if the applicant is present or not.
She is.
Looks like they are. If you have any questions for the applicant, or if you have conditions that are required, now is the time to engage on those. Otherwise, it'd be appropriate to take action.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Daniel, second by Brad. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Mr. President, item H is a continuation of our public hearing that began previously for the Kazek Properties LLC, 130 Baker Lane, conditional use request. At this time, I'll open that public hearing. Mr. Radim, did I get that right? That's close. And Carrie Kazek are seeking a conditional use permit for a commercial office warehouse development at 130 Baker Lane. They own a 7.47 acre parcel. It's zoned C2. The site plan shows two 6,000 square foot buildings that front on Baker Lane. Both buildings will have brick on the front and sides. These buildings will block the view of the additional shop buildings that will be in the rear of the property. There will be 7 20 by 40 fully enclosed shop buildings on the east side of the property and 5 40 by 50 fully enclosed shop warehouse buildings on the west side of the property. Two 12,800 square foot buildings for covered parking of RVs and boats will be on the interior of the rear of the property. Ornamental trees and an 8-foot privacy fence will be installed along the east property line. An existing wooded area 80 to 221 feet in width will remain as a buffer along the southern property line. This time we'll open that public hearing, and I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to or otherwise provide input upon the Radim and Carrie Kazek conditional use permit. Let me go over the conditions one more time so that it's clear what the staff is recommending. Proposed conditions will be as follows. No outside storage for the two buildings that front on Baker Lane. There will be the installation of an 8-foot privacy fence along the east line of the property. The area that would serve as the buffer on the south line is to be maintained with the existing trees that are there in the composition of the area that as proposed and agreed upon by the parties. We will be provided with a survey and legal description for the buffer area. And upon receipt of the legal description and survey, I will prepare a set of restrictive covenants that will be executed by the property owner and on behalf of the county, stating that the area cannot be developed. That area that is under restriction cannot be developed. That will be recorded in the land records. No excessive illumination that would have an adverse effect on surrounding properties will be employed or utilized. And we will receive an appropriate drainage plan for review by engineering service on behalf of the county to establish that there are no adverse drainage impacts as required under our property codes. Those are the conditions. Has anybody heard anything that doesn't sound right? Does anybody have anything to say on this matter? Mark? Couldn't resist,
Mark,
kid.
before you start, let me put one small, sorry to interrupt you, but I was waiting on him to finish. Mr. Kazak, do you understand a drainage plan that has to be approved? And we don't know what that is gonna consist until we get it. So, all right.
I'm assuming that the approval today is conditioned upon everything that was just said.
Mark, come up if you don't mind. Thank you.
I'm assuming that if there's an approval today, it's going to be conditioned upon everything that was just read into the record by Craig. One thing that we would like, obviously, because we don't know what the buffer area is going to, I mean, we know what it's supposed to look like, but we don't know what it you know, we haven't seen the survey, the plat survey, and things like that. We haven't seen the actual site plan with regard to the construction and the lighting and things like that. We would like the opportunity to have notice when those particular processes are occurring, so we can have input, Mr. Lucer, Mr. Caraway can have input with regard to those issues to make sure that they're consistent with our understanding as to what is supposed to occur out there. Obviously, we don't have a lot before us. We hear what's going to happen, and it sounds like that will resolve the issue. Hopefully it will, and there won't be any objections. We just like the opportunity as it moves down to completion to have input, or at least be able to review it before it's approved by the board, if possible.
More detailed site plan. We have it today on the PowerPoint, and we have the architectural renderings.
Same thing as we got right here.
If it, right. Mhm.
Would y'all like to have Renee put that
Put it
on?
up. Let's look at it,
Everybody
and-
can kind of see it. We were prepared to do that, but we didn't know if it was going to be necessary or not until we got into this.
I'm having one of these books.
Mark, you want this?
Give, join Lynn on one of these other ones.
All right, so this is the site plan showing the layout. We also have a larger 24 by 36. But you can see the two front buildings. You can see that those buildings on the interior. All the buildings will be enclosed except for these. All the buildings will be fully enclosed except for those two buildings on the interior. They'll be, well, I don't have my pointer, but you know, they'll have be open on both sides, so you could pull in from either side to park. But that's the only thing. He does show a little bit of outdoor parking at the very, well, not at the very southern end. He's got
There you
the.
go.
Don't know how to work yours.
Laser, just hit the laser. Right here. This is laser.
Gotcha. All right, so anyway, he shows a little bit along here in this area. And I assume that's gonna remain?
Yes, but it's gonna be available for the renters.
Okay,
For
yeah.
the, you know, small overload parking for the people that rent the shop, so, or any kind of office space.
But this is that.
That's not a outside storage that some individual just bring their boat in and park it. It is more for a small business guy that would rent from us and have a couple trailers that they can park down there. But all that's, the way that the property slopes down, you would literally have to be up in the air to see anything that's happening down.
You want him to come up here?
Down that low.
Does he need to come up?
If y'all want to hear from Rodney, he can come. Right, we're gonna need-
Come up here, that way you walk through it some, as we,
Do
any
you want
questions you
this?
You guys, well, do I need to introduce myself?
yeah, go ahead, just
My-
give your name.
My name is Radim Kizek, K-I-Z-E-K. My wife and I own Kizek Properties LLC. You could see the two buildings that basically are the frontage road right there. They're gonna be brick from the front, they're gonna, and Ms. Lawrence,
got
do you
this.
have another picture?
I do.
know. This is all preliminary, right? But the way we design it is, we want it to be appealing from the road. We want it to be something that it's gonna be ugly to look at. We live around the corner from there. But it's basically, what you're gonna see from the road is gonna be as close to this as possible. Now, that storage that you can see, the 130 Baker Lane on it, that all also is gonna be brick because it's so, obvious from the road.
Yeah.
So you could, everything's gonna be, we had architects that help us with this, and they basically went through all the requirements for the C2, and they even put a break in and a continuous brick front, so that, like, they went through all that trouble, look up all that stuff, and basically this is what we came up with, and we're really pleased with that. So nothing.
So these front buildings, are they gonna be office buildings? Is that what that is?
Office/warehouse, more, but there may be, like on this side, when you see this one kind of to the left, there may be a few more entrances coming in from the parking. The way I look at it, I kind of have a vision, and I would like to have, for you to availability to rent, if you want 1,000 square or 2,000. So basically, it's a shell of the building, and if somebody wants a couple thousand square feet, it can all be divided. So there may be a few more entrances coming from the front of the building. So, but as far as the look of it, this is as close as it gets. So, I met with you guys before about this, and basically agree with all the rules and all the requests that were thrown at us. So we would really like to move forward with this if possible. And again, I know there's some conditions that we're gonna stick with, and
Just
It's like class
work
act.
close with your neighbors. Keep your neighbors informed and.
oh yeah,
Y'all, I mean, I see.
some new friends through the whole thing.
And we're gonna, remember the cross front's brick
Absolutely.
and no leaving vehicles parked at the back. I understand what you're saying. If somebody comes in, they may park and go to their shop or whatever and get back. But, we don't, I don't even like the idea of putting a boat down there.
And that was just an example. Like, what I'm saying is, if you have a landscaping business, so you rent one of my smaller shops to be able to store your equipment or whatnot, then you have a couple trailers maybe you want to park down there. I want it to be available for them, because even there is a 30 feet
That's still-
space between.
That's between that and the buffer.
Right,
Yeah,
he's,
but-
he's
Okay.
still gonna have
You're not
that buffer.
encroaching on the buffer.
No, that's, we agree that basically the area down here
This,
Uh-huh.
is
It's
gonna
eight-
stay the way it is.
But like, I can see myself pulling 5 foot into the buffer. Boy, that worked out.
No,
pretty
you can't
good.
pull it, you can't.
he's
You
gonna
can't-
leave
time
the
I'm 10
existing
foot into the
trees,
buffer.
It's so,
be trees.
I'll tell you what.
Okay.
I have a picture I printed. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that, but basically, we've been over this thing, but these are the flags that Kerway and Regulus put out. This is already clear. You can't even walk through here. That's how thick it is. So, and
real
that's
buffer.
that just shows. And they,
How the buffer line was marked, and you can see that at the top of the picture, that's the existing buffer that will remain. And the way that I intend to draw up the restrictive covenants, it'll be clear that it's to have no activity. It's to be undisturbed. It'll be clear. And so it can be monitored, not just.
The buffer that's there now, is it just overgrown,
Yeah,
natural
it's-
hedges and
thick.
briar bushes and blueberry bushes?
You can't see through there. I don't think even in fall or winter, it's pretty thick. It's,
Sound like cut-off.
and it's so low down. It's, I don't know, anything, we design it so anything that's gonna happen behind those two buildings, we're basically, you're gonna, unless you walk in that yard, you ain't gonna see what's down there.
That looks good to me.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Put a lot of thought into it, obviously.
I see that.
Guys, I drove by this property. When I tell you I live around the corner from there, and drove by it 5 years, it's been for sale, and prayed about it. And Lord finally opened the door for us, and we were able to buy this property. And as a small business guy, I just opportunity. I look for something that and other small business guys like me may not have a luxury to park their stuff or keep their trailers at the house because they live in a more restricted neighborhoods than I do. So I just felt that may be a good opportunity for something like that.
Well, I know you have a little bit different accent than some of the other people, but they haven't heard your testimony. This isn't the time. It's strong. I'm telling you, Sky. It touched me.
Well, which part? I told you I don't play that card.
No, from your whole life, really. He's an immigrant. He came over here and he did things right. He's a citizen, and he's worked hard to get where he's not where he wants to be, but he's worked hard to get where he's at today.
It's not about where I want to be. Never. It was never like that. I had no idea when I came here that I'm going to stay, or I'm going to meet my wife and children, family. This is my home.
I thought he was from like South Rankin County.
Yeah.
I knew he wasn't north. I knew he wasn't on the north
Louisiana
side.
is
Louisiana,
small.
Louisiana.
I knew you wasn't north of 20,
I go down
so,
to New Orleans, they blend right in. with
Yeah.
it, so it's,
I thought it was
look,
around-
I can't get rid of it. I promise.
Yeah, I thought it was around Mike
I
Word's
get
area
bullied
down
at
there,
home
but-
by my kids and my wife, and
Yeah.
it is what it is, And this is not my cup of tea. I don't do well in public speaking. You're never gonna, you're never gonna see me. I'm more of a hands-on guy. So you let me prove you wrong, guys. So I really want to make this happen. It may not, it's gonna take a while. It's probably gonna be phased out, but I want to make that first step and come. My wife's not here now, so I'm gonna go home and tell her it's all good. Because she's
Looks good to me.
anxious.
All
All
right.
right.
Any
So,
Any other discussion?
Mr. Kaiser?
Not this time.
No, thank you.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
well, and there'll be another
Thank
step whenever he gets the conditions all drawn up after.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was gonna
And-
say, is just as
yeah.
long as we can see the
Yeah.
actual survey. And it,
I would've had it on silent.
that's our,
Didn't.
yeah, as long as we see the final survey, that's all we really, and the language, that's all we care about.
I'm just kidding.
I do want to say that, about 15 years ago, I had the Royce and Benny Baker there at the Pure Station, it's a car lot now, tried to convince me to incorporate Langford and me be the mayor. And if I had, I wouldn't have to be up here right now. No, I do appreciate the way y'all handle your business, the way you listen to us, and went out of your way to make sure that we all agree, and
Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank y'all.
I'm glad.
We thank you for
Thank you, sir.
taking a part and helping us do this, Rick.
You can have it.
Hey,
You need another one?
I think there's just two
Yeah.
real conditions.
I got
We got
one.
a
that, and I wanted to get this on record, that I think there's really two conditions that I would call them big rocks that need to be addressed here. The legal description in the boundary survey for the restricted area is an important rock, and that's coming. That can be provided, and it will be a condition that you guys set. The second is maybe the lighting plan is probably the other big issue. And just making sure that we see a lighting plan associated with whatever the construction drawings end up being, so that it's clear that it's oriented, and we try to keep it within the boundaries of the property, so as not to create any light pollution on adjoining properties. That can be done, it takes work, it takes a little bit of forethought. Mark, did I cover the two kind of big conditions there? All right, so what we would say today, thank you very much for being a part. What we would say is, unless there's somebody else to speak on this matter that I haven't recognized. Yes, sir. Go for it. Name and address.
Morning.
Gentlemen, my name is Ed Gardner. I was before y'all in December. I just have a few questions and comments. I live at 133 Fox Run Road in Brandon, about a mile from where the development is planned. My wife and I have been a resident of Rankin County for 44 years. My wife and I live in District 4, and we have since 1996. We are the owners of Highway 471 Storage at 2052 Highway 471. If I could, I'd just like to ask a couple of questions. I went by the applicant's other business, and I noticed there's roll-up doors across the front. And he said that some of these bays would be open, or some of the roll-up, like garage-type doors gonna be on the front of the building? Like
You just need to, really need to, hey, just needs to address us.
Pardon me?
You just need to address the board.
Address the board.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, fine. Okay,
I mean, we're not gonna get into a debate type thing, or question and answer. We just need to, what are you asking?
I'm asking if it's gonna have roll-up doors on the front like a warehouse.
What you're seeing right there is the frontage from Highway 471. Those are
Right.
brick structures.
Right.
I think those are painted brick maybe running. And so there's no roll-up doors at all visible from Highway 471. Any roll-up doors would be interior to the property and not facing 471 or Baker Lane.
Okay. And the,
Is that something you wanted? You want roll-up doors?
no, I'm asking if it was.
Oh, okay, I got you. I
Because-
wasn't sure if that's something
No,
you were wanting to prefer or something.
No,
Okay.
I was, because I looked at this other location, and there are roll-up doors.
I got you.
And many of the doors this morning were open to the street,
Right.
and that's what my,
Yeah.
on that particular issue is.
Okay.
The vehicles, I know that Mr. Gaines has opposed the outdoor parking. We've been through that with my property. I'm putting it enclosed, and one of the big things that I've heard from you in the past is, no outdoor parking. On the vehicles the vehicles for the tenants are gonna be left out overnight, and possibly trailers there that they have lawn equipment on or whatever. So to me, that somewhat constitutes outdoor parking, which has been previously prohibited or said it was gonna be prohibited. I have a statement. Hopefully you'll listen to it. Like I said, I'm here this morning to oppose the applicant's request for a conditional use permit for the property at 130 Baker Lane. Furthermore, I'd like to speak to the unprincipled process on which the applicant might receive approval for the proposed development. Sometime in the latter part of 2000, I believe the applicant purchased the property at 130 Baker Lane. The property was advertised as zoned as C2, located in a mix of businesses and several large neighborhoods. That property is vacant, it's undeveloped, and like I said, it is zoned C2 with no existing business on the land. I believe that the applicant purchased the property with the intent to build the proposed development. I believe the board members pretty much know that as well. I know in some of the past meetings, Mr. Gaines, you made reference to it. Matter of fact, in April 5th board meeting, Mr. Gaines said the following: "These people," referring to the applicant, "have bought or have a contract on and just assumed it would be okay to put outside storage and get the zoning changed. But the same issue that was there before is still here. So I asked them to get with their neighbors, they've been there the longest, and y'all work something out together to everybody's satisfaction. I will not work with this. I want it to be clear, this type of outdoor storage is not something you or I want to see out my window. Pulling a travel trailer or trying to park at night and a big RV. That's what it is. That's end quote. I understand that the commercial or the rent paid outdoor storage has been removed from the development. However, I assure you, if the RV parking spots are still covered, you will have RVs and travel trailers pulling in and out of the facility at all hours of the day and night. I can tell you that from my own experience. That's why I'm in property zone C3, away from any residential neighborhood. Like I said, you'll have the travel trailers pulling in and out 24 hours a day. The lighting will be 24 hours a day, and I understand there's some resolution there as far as fixing the lighting not to impose upon the residential. Plus, you'll have traffic generated by the tenants of the 5 warehouses. Warehouses being 40 by 50, that's 2,000 square feet. That's as large as some of our houses, so there's going to be a pretty big business inside that shop. Then you have 7 20 by 40 shops. Each one of those shops could represent a business. Then there's the commercial warehouse office across the front of the development. I don't know if it was said how many units will be across the front, but each one of those units will represent an individual business. You could very well see mechanic shops, lawnmower repairs, ATV repair, welders, contractors, wood mill shops, the list goes on. I believe the neighbors, the residential neighbors, will be greatly affected by the tremendous amount of commercial activity conducted outdoors, along with the increased traffic from the tenants and their customers, and then not to mention the noise generated by said activities. The residential neighborhoods could see a negative impact on their property values. There will be, like I said, there will be numerous individual businesses operating out of the planned development. According to the zoning regulations of Rankin County, commercial outdoor activity should be far away from the residential uses. Unless the residential neighborhoods have been more informed than what we were, I'll scratch that because there was some information provided. Another statement Mr. Gaines made at an April 5th board meeting, or here at a board meeting, this is a real sensitive corner. Baker Lane and Highway 471 can be developed in a pristine manner, or it can be put to use as car lots or boat storage. Be careful. Once we mess up this corner, we mess up this corner. That's the end of his quote. And I will say, be careful. Once we mess up this corner, we mess up this corner is a good reason not to allow C3 more intensive land uses into the C2 district. That's basically what you're doing. I think that's what the conditional use permit allows. There's plenty of C3 property right down the highway that is zoned for the more intensive uses than are permitted in a C2 district. I'm not opposing because he's my competition. If he wants to come buy C3 property right beside me, that's fine. That's what it's designated for, away from residential, and it's on the major thoroughfare. That's what the ordinance says. Like I said, the applicant has submitted an application for a conditional use permit to the board, asking the board to allow prohibited land uses in a C2 district. The application states commercial warehouse, office to store goods, vehicles, and equipment. If you look at the proposed site plan, you will see a shop in blue, you'll see the covered RV parking, and you'll see a warehouse office. The rendering, all right, I'm scratch that.
Just a minute. You kind of getting toward the end. We usually only allow about 3 to 5 minutes.
I didn't realize there was a time limit.
Yeah.
I would like to state my case if I could. This is a public hearing. I didn't know.
You're welcome to put that in the record. That'd be the best way to do it. It can be preserved. For the purpose of
You've
minutes.
covered,
We
you've
don't
made
need
some
to-
key points that I've heard, so, I didn't know you had quite that much to.
I'm a little surprised that you're not going to allow me to speak.
We've allowed you to speak. In fact, we've given you more flexibility and more freedom than we normally give in these situations. There is a lot of business that needs to be conducted by this board that is well beyond the purpose of one public hearing.
But just go ahead and wrap it up. Go ahead and finish.
It's going to be a few minutes. Is that okay?
we've told you to hit the high points.
Yeah.
Finish
Just kinda-
put
kinda
that
hit
in
the high
record,
points, you
ask
would.
that that be put in the record, and we'll close this out and move on.
If you hit the high points, you get, yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. If you review the zoning regulations, you'll see that under C2 district, that the warehouse and storage unit is not listed as an example of the land use permit, nor is it under the select condition use. If you review the zoning regulations, under major thoroughfare, C3, you will see that that's where the warehouse and storage land use is permitted. The applicant is asking you to allow land uses that are absolutely prohibited in C2 district and add C3 more intensive use to that district. If this board approves the prohibited uses for applicant's property, those effectively transform the applicant's property from C2 to a C3 district. Allowing the applicant's property to be effectively rezoned for C3 district would be in direct conflict with the stated goals and objectives of the zoning regulation listed in section 2000. Use permitted in C3 major thoroughfare commercial districts may not be permitted in C2 district. Section 2001, regarding C3 district, the outdoor commercial uses first permitted outright in the district shall be located well away from residential neighborhoods. Like I say, you can look at the map, you can see that this development is not well away from residential neighborhoods. I believe that a zoning amendment that favors a particular landowner and nearby landowners is arbitrary. A change in the permitted land use effectively rezones or spot zones a particular piece of property and should not be a conditional use as it singles out one piece of property for special and privileged treatment. It is not the responsibility of this board to change permitted land uses for the benefit of the applicant. Excuse me.
Why don't we allow this, the rest of this to be placed into the record, and then the board can decide whether it's time to move on, entertain additional commentary from others to have an opportunity to speak, and then finally make its decision.
We got
So
some-
we'll accept this for the record.
Yeah.
And have it placed, if you'll put that on the edge of the table over there.
So you're absolutely not going to let me speak?
sir,
As
we're
a
not.
taxpayer of Mississippi, I
We're
cannot.
done, we're done.
We
You put-
did.
you've got
We
an
let you
opportunity to
speak.
put
I-
a statement in the record, right there.
Sir?
We did let you speak, and it's, we didn't know it quite, we never have anything that long when it comes time to speak. That's where we usually limit it to 3 to 5 minutes.
Thank you
Because
for your
somebody,
I've never seen that in anything
Would you
that
like
I've
that to be
read.
put in the
Okay.
record, or do you just wish to take it on back with you? You're welcome to either put it on the table so it can be put in the record,
Mhm.
or not. That's your choice.
I would like you to have it in the record, though, because you made some valid points.
I've got a couple other valid points. Just give me another couple minutes, please,
You
sir.
want to put it in the record or not?
Sir?
Okay, gentlemen, I
I don't know really what to do
Hey,
either.
do you mind asking this gentleman
I'll-
to conform to what the board has requested? Tender the lectern. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how you're going to make a decision if I'm not able to speak, because you're not going to read this before you make a decision.
Well, I kind of agree there.
Okay.
A lot of points I.
Let's go back over the conditions one more time, gentlemen, just so it's clear in our minds what's going on. If the board determines that it's appropriate to grant the conditional use request of Kazakh Properties, it would be with these conditions: no outside storage for the 2 buildings that front on Baker Lane, install an 8-foot privacy fence along the east side of the property. This provides for a site buffer on the east side, maintain a buffer area with the existing trees on the south property line. This addresses the site distance, the site issues that are on the south side of the property, which protects, by the way, the 2 primary residential zoned areas. This is how we address issues of conformity of
what is already zoned commercial within the context of a residential zoned area and community, we address that primarily with buffer. And so these two conditions will provide a basis for addressing conditions that are that achieve the goal of providing a buffer between disparate land uses. You'll be provided with a survey and a legal description of this buffer area, and that survey and legal description will be provided to the adjacent property owners who are most affected by this. There will be no excessive illumination that would have an adverse effect on surrounding properties. And then your approval is conditioned upon the receipt of a drainage plan by engineering service for review and approval. Okay, so those are the conditions that would be placed. I'm assuming that we have gotten to the end of our
Have we closed it yet?
comment. I'm closing this public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate for the board to take action.
I make a motion to approve the condition.
Motion approved, Mr. Bishop.
Second.
Second from Mr. Cross. Any discussion? I guess the only question I have is, so you didn't have to have didn't have to be rezoned because it's the C?
That's correct.
Okay.
C2, conditional use was to allow some uses that are attenuated to this particular C2 line.
Okay.
You can do that by conditions,
Okay.
right?
All right.
To allow for limited outside storage. You've already heard from the applicant that that would be associated with renters who are renting space in the property. It wouldn't be made available for storage to third parties who would want to, quote, rent a space to locate something that would be outside storage.
So we're not gonna be having boats and RVs out there.
Yeah.
You know, this, in my mind, it's just like these others we've done, where they do these small
Right.
buildings where allow small businesses to open up.
I just wanted to put it out here about the zoning thing.
Yes.
Okay.
And this board has the discretion to address specific conditions related to specific applications for specific items or parcels of property. This board's always had that discretion to do that.
Right.
So his lawyer drew up a bunch of language that is general in nature, that generally addresses some issues that are specific to, say, a C3, C2 distinction. But in each case, it has to be done on a site-by-site specific visitation by this board,
Right.
determining what is best for that particular use. So I think the board, we've gone round.
Hey,
I just
and
want-
we're
I just
still,
wanted
we're
it out for the
still,
record.
we're still not through with this. He still have to bring documents back to us.
Exactly.
And if the architectural review is not the right way, or the drainage is not the right way, it
Yes.
should still be acted upon at that point. So
There's been
still-
nothing
There's still more
hasty.
steps that's gotta happen.
There's been nothing arbitrary in any respect about this. I think what it comes down to is what was pretty easily observable. And so I would encourage the board just to move on. Let's make our decision and move on.
All right, had a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. All right. What we got here? Oh, yeah, you got it.
That
Got
matt's
another.
closed, and we're done. For the record, that public hearing is closed. Item I, gentlemen, under my section is acknowledgement of a vacancy in the Rankin County District 2 Constable Office. This is the county district office, and so under Title 23 of the Election Code, we have some requirements in response to having been notified of that vacancy. So you're authorizing the Rankin County Election Commission and/or the Rankin County Circuit Clerk to do all things necessary to schedule, publicize notice of, and conduct a special election if necessary to fill the unexpired term of office at the next regular special election day pursuant to 23-15-839. Authorization of the county administrator to provide notice to the Rankin County Election Commission and the Rankin County Circuit Clerk.
You need a motion for that? Or
Please.
just- So I'll make a
Please.
motion to accept the
that.
acknowledgement.
And second.
All right, motion to accept this by Daniel, second by Brad. Any more discussion?
Well, I know the
Yeah.
school is wanting to get on the, because as of this morning, they wasn't for sure.
We'll make an effort, with y'all's permission, to go ahead and notify the school board and the superintendent of the requirement that they notify the circuit clerk officially. They need to do that through their board. Notify the circuit clerk officially of the vacancy in the school board office, if there is one. I think there is one, right?
Yeah.
And so they need to do the same thing that you guys just did right here for their purposes as well, okay?
I mean, the reason for, hopefully, we don't waste a bunch of taxpayer money.
Yeah, we don't need a special,
do them
a
both together.
legitimate
Yeah, we
special
do.
election. We have a
Same time.
place for special
Or they
elections.
place.
They happen every November,
Yeah.
okay?
All right,
So what you just did is acknowledge the vacancy itself, and you authorized the appropriate action to take place under the election code to make sure that that ultimately gets filled by way of an election in November.
yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
I have,
Hang on,
Wait,
we
we
got-
got a motion and a second. Huh? What?
Go ahead.
All in
Yeah.
favor?
Yeah, I thought he turned to getting something else when he turned. Motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
just
All
making sure
opposed?
nobody's behind.
No, when you turn around, I thought,
With the
I thought,
spear.
who else has got something to say?
I was hoping somebody had my back. I was struggling there.
Like Broom,
I
Texas,
was
over
struggling. All right.
Chuck's got it.
Gentlemen, I've got a couple of matters under additional business, but you'll be pleased to know I do not have a need for executive session today.
All right. Set back, okay? All right, Keith. Oh, yeah, Paul, you're here. Come on up. I'm glad you made it time.
Like old habit now,
And
man.
I was
You
gonna,
just have tough acts to follow though now.
again,
Stay straight.
He wasn't voting me to start with.
and I empathize with Mr. Kazak. I've been trying for 60 years to change my accent and it hadn't worked, so his is better than mine, actually. I'm just really here, I had sent something to Keith and Craig a few weeks ago about, on the Central Mississippi Regional Library Association re-roofing project. We were notified several weeks ago by the contractor that he was having trouble getting his materials. And I asked him to give us some specific information, so he went and got some letters from Carlisle and Firestone, two major roofing suppliers, about delays and materials. And basically what they're saying is they went actually some very detailed reasons. They're saying 4 to 6 months to get materials, and of course the contractor started right away after the board approved the notice to proceed in May of ordering his materials. And like I say, a few weeks ago he got these letters, but essentially it's delaying his start because he can't get his materials to about the end of July, 1st of August. It won't take him but 30 to 60 days to do the project once he gets the materials on site. But he's having, according to these, he's having trouble getting
Yeah. What kind
everything.
of material?
Roofing membrane, insulation, metal flashing, and
Flashing.
I'll go down. Carlisle sent a very detailed
They
letter.
can break the metal flashing, but yeah, I didn't. The membrane,
Well,
no. Huh.
they're saying on steel and metals, the plants was shut down for months with COVID.
So anyone wanting to
waiting on
do
a
this
metal
type of
building
roof now
still on the
is
firehouse.
out of luck. There won't be any roofing business done.
Mostly,
Hey,
almost
don't
any
get
roof
flashed.
materials is petrochemicals, and they were shut down. They're manufactured, with some type of
Yeah.
petroleum. The roofing materials are the same way. They're having trouble just getting.
They're having
once-
trouble getting the rolls that they roll it.
They
That's what
are.
it is. It's not it's the big rolls you see on these trucks. They're having trouble getting the rolls.
Well, in the trucking, they're having trouble
Uh-huh.
getting the shipping.
Right.
And I saw something just the other day, which I hadn't known until just then. Shipping containers, that you see on these big ships and then they put on sites.
Right.
They were all used by the federal government to ship stuff to COVID areas, among other things, use as morgues and stuff. They can't get them back, so there's a shortage of that.
You know, now that you mentioned that place on Flowood, Flowood Drive right across from Clean Steel. I don't see many containers in it anymore. I noticed that.
I'm learning something every day about
Hundreds
this
of them.
stuff, but the bottom line, we've heard this from almost every project we got in contractors right now. It's just a trouble. It's a global
We're gonna put solar panels.
in the chain distribution effect. And if I heard Nissan's having trouble, you can't, if you're trying to get they have the same issue that appliances are having. You're trying to get an appliance, they're talking about a year to get it, and the thing there is microchips. If you know, these refrigerators now, they have TVs and everything else in them, and they can't get that kind of stuff. That's not the issue here, but I'm finding out something new every day. But I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. I don't know exactly what else
Has
can
he
be
tore
done.
up anything yet?
No, they have
Okay.
not. They were waiting. Their whole plan all along was wait and do all this so that there was minimum destruction. So they were waiting before they even got the. They didn't want to tear anything up until they had materials on
Right.
site. So that's
do we
where
need to
they're
take
at.
any action here as far as giving this guy more time?
Ryan Carl, he's got 3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
It's getting close.
I figured he figured that out by now.
We asked Carl to come to give you guys a little more detail about what we're seeing developing. I think this is going to be a continuing issue for us, the
Yeah.
supply chain.
Yeah.
It may start impacting some of future projects that could be out there. I'd be curious to know what, if any, impact it might have on our Chantry renovation project, which is, it's right there on the cusp. And so, Carl, you may want to just.
I think it's going to have some impact mainly in cost, and I wish I could be more definitive on the cost. I just don't know yet. I do know that this type size project, there's several Rankin County contractors who are interested in it.
When are we going out for bid?
Pretty soon. We're just waiting on the engineers to finish making the changes that that we had to do with some of the beams and other things. But that should come out. I hope to come for you in the next board meeting to ask for permission to advertise.
So that's gonna be an alternate though, right? The beams?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
What you talking about, the columns?
The columns, not the beams. I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah. Well,
I keep
are
it
they-
straight.
So they're still having problems getting there?
They're gonna be metal tube columns. I'm not
I know.
sure.
Well,
We'll
if
just
they
have to
don't-
wait and see.
I'm serious. Where I get them, I'm not having a
That
problem.
was it.
I
And
may
you're only
need to-
talking about, one will make two,
Yeah,
20-foot piece, make two.
right.
And you only,
It's
how
a
many?
nice looking place.
Eight?
Yeah, 8, so you're
Eight,
talking
so
about
only
4.
four?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If we put that out for bid, I'll be talking to contractors, Jared. I may have to
I mean.
come to you
seriously.
directly to find out where you're getting it from. As I say, I'm hearing different things. I've talked to contractors all the time. I've had some contractors tell me they've had to go to 3 states to get chipboard. I know for a fact that underlayment, which used to be $20, $25 a sheet, now up to $80 or $90 a sheet. Plywood, 3/4 inch burst plywood is like $125 for a 4x8 sheet. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
So it may be, and I'm not necessarily advocating this, but it may be that we go ahead and get bids, see what the prices are, and if they're just ridiculous, put it on hold until. I do think things will level out, but it'll be, 6 months,
Yeah.
8 months, I think.
well, what they're doing, like on that tubing, that's a pretty common thing. They're not letting, one big supplier buy them out.
Right.
They're trying to, ration it out. And since I don't buy large quantities, maybe that's the way they could do it. So what I'm saying, if they knew, it'd be easy to order, 2 this week, 2 next week, and probably work it in that way rather than going trying to order.
And that may be what they have to do. Going back to the roof materials, I know that Independent's probably the largest commercial roofer, so they do have some preference in getting their materials from people, but,
Well, Carl, let me ask you this, that's another thought. How come instead of using square tubing, why couldn't they use, pipe?
we could use whatever.
Well, the
Yeah.
pipe is not as hard to get.
Okay.
It's the same, basically the same,
Yeah,
strength.
so, yeah,
that
probably,
column.
yeah,
It's a little
probably,
less.
yeah. It probably need, maybe go up a little bit
Well,
size on the
you
pipe.
could get Schedule 80, still Schedule 40.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just a thought, because pipe's not been hard.
Yeah, no,
I've not found a problem getting any pipe.
Well, that's
I mean,
something we certainly can look at,
Yeah.
and give alternatives to that.
Yeah.
At this point, we're open to anything that
That's
can
just
get
a
the things.
thought, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. You only talking 10 foot, so the load bearing, only, yeah, okay.
Well, and that's just one thing, the piping, I'm more concerned about some of the other things, like I said, just chipboard, getting
Right.
it, and getting it relatively inexpensively or normal.
Right.
So do we need to
Okay.
take any action on this?
I
I
don't know
got,
how.
I got some drill sting on there.
Yeah. For real?
All right.
It's just notification. Get you guys up to
All right.
speed.
Okay, well, appreciate it, Carl. Thanks for the bad, good news. All right, Keith?
All right.
You want your spot now?
Yes, sir, very quickly. Item A is
You got 3
authority to
minutes.
pay the county sheriff, Constable Robert Hancock's PERS amount of $7,978.69.
County
I'll make a motion to
All
approve.
right, motion approved by Daniel.
Second.
Second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
All right, item B is the authority for us to obtain quotes for the lease purchase financing of 2 Kenworth dump trucks with a guaranteed 1-year buyback of $143,400.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Brad.
Second.
Second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And the final item is ratification of a payment where we paid off 4 Kenworth dump trucks. The total payoff was $577,427. And just a note that we're guaranteed about $11,000 more when we sell those 4 trucks.
Good.
I would bet
Good
so,
idea.
shortage of vehicle trucks as it is now.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion approved
Or
by
ratify.
Daniel.
Second.
Second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey, I've got one thing under additional business. The great Janice Dindy has found a leave form. I didn't know we had leave forms, or she knew where they were, but she put in a leave form, I think, for next week, well, this week, to go down to the coast. But if she's gonna be down there with Pat, I don't think we should charge her leave. That's just gonna be my opinion of it. Not that she takes leave anyway, but,
I second.
so
the
I
whole
wanna make a
time she's
motion to
down
send her
there.
down there, not to
Because
charge
if
her
we
leave.
need something, we can call.
But she's working
Look,
the whole time.
she's
down
not
there.
gonna answer when I call, no matter where she's at, so it might as well be down the coast, you know,
I think
so.
what you're doing is you're denying her request for
Yes.
leave.
That's what I'm doing, but I'm sitting there at the coast with Pat. That's what I'd like for her to do. So if I need that in a motion or what I need to do, or just,
Just acknowledge it, that the
That's fine.
administration should handle that
Yeah,
request.
that's all right.
that's what I'd rather have her do, just as a blessing
That's all.
for Janice. I give her a hard time, but I'd be lost without her. I'm
All
lost
right.
anyway, so I mean, that's why. So,
Sounds good.
all right.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, sir, I've got, if it will please the board, I've got 2 items
3
to
minutes.
ask that you, yes, sir, I've got 3 minutes and 2 items to add to the board, to the additional business. One is the authorization of a 16th section transfer from a current leaseholder back to the school district. This would be Beretta Properties back to Rankin County School District. And the second is an assignment of a 16th section leasehold interest from a Dearman Investments to a Stevens of a specific piece of property. This board has the responsibility to actually authorize the transaction, the transfer of 16th section leasehold property. And you might ask yourself, why are we even involved in that since it's
Yeah,
school board
that's what I was
stuff?
gonna
Why
ask.
are we involved? It's because there's an ad valorem impact, Jared. Each of these parcels, even though they're 16th section, the structures located on the properties are still subject to our ad valorem assessment. And so those actually go through our property tax requirements and responsibilities. And bless her heart, Jessica's sitting over there nodding and thinking to herself, these things have a way of finding their way back to us when 16th section tenants fail to make their appropriate property tax payment. And so that's why this board has that opportunity. I would ask that y'all recognize and add these 2 matters, authorizations of these transfers to your agenda, and then I would ask for a motion to approve both on behalf of the board.
All right, I'll make that motion to add.
Second.
Okay, motion added by Daniel, second by Brad. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion to approve
Motion to approve.
by Daniel, second by Brad. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Any other additional business?
I do. I got one more additional business. You know, about once a month, we get a list on, sent to us from our school requesting the road department go out and work on parking lots, and, we don't budget for school parking lots, and I think so far we've spent around $300,000 on school parking lots, and it's coming out of our road budget. So, I mean, I just want to discuss on, what's our role in fixing school parking lots?
Well, the only thing I mean, well, go ahead. I mean, they got potholes. I don't see how we got much choice.
So under Title 19, subsection 3, subchapter 42,
There you go.
you have authority, subject to your discretion, to provide assistance to the Rankin County School District and the Pearl Public School District. Any public school body located in Rankin County, you have the authority as a board to provide assistance. They don't have road departments, and they don't have a road maintenance staff, and they don't keep road equipment at the school district to provide for those services. So the statute recognizes that upon written requests, and we have mechanisms by way y'all are involved in that process, we handle those on a case-by-case basis. We get a written request from the school district. Those are then sent out and parceled out among the supervisors in whose district is affected by the request. So if it's a McLaurin school that needs some 610 and a pothole in the bus lot there, Brad, we get that written request. It goes out to you and to Mike, and there is this interplay where we say, is there any reason why we should hold up on this particular request? What has been happening over time is that we get an aggregation of these requests. They'll hold them and then submit them whole cloth after the school closes down for the year.
Right.
So roughly the end of May, first part of June, we'll get a series of these requests, and they're typically related to patch and pothole work in parking lots at the various schools.
That's about
And
the only
so-
time we can do it anyway.
But that's
Yeah.
our busiest
Yeah.
time of the summer, working
Yeah.
on getting our roads.
Right. And,
Yeah,
and
but I'm just saying, that's about the only time they can do them, because it's not even
right.
parking lot.
What your staff is not, it really falls on Mike, and this just being open and honest about it, it falls on Mike and his guys to sort of evaluate these requests and determine whether or not do they really need attention, or is this just becoming kind of a, hey, it's that time of year, go check it all out and repair what you need. We have to get specific requests for each individual school, because that's what the statute requires. And so it really looks like a lot of paperwork and requests coming in all at once, enough to choke a goat. I
It
always
did look like a
cringe.
lot. I did notice on our agenda today, there was a whole bunch, but
Yeah.
no, when you called me the other day about it, I was like, I don't really pay attention to everybody else's request, but I did see a laundry list there
Well,
today.
I rode around Saturday looking at a lot of the school parking lots, and a lot of them never had anything done since the building been built, and they need sealing. We got grass growing up in them, and I know we don't budget, the road department, a budget to fix school parking lots.
Well, I don't know, they've been doing it forever,
I
so
understand.
I imagine they do budget it somehow.
No,
I mean, what's the other
it
option?
really, I think it really needs its own budget. I mean, budget item, and we could estimate from the previous years maybe what to put in there, but it's not fair, say at the end of the year, Mike done spent $600,000, and we're all going, where'd your money go? Where'd your money go? And that's not even, that.
It's good to have this discussion as a way of enlightening ourselves and others, that this is something that this board takes care of. We do that on behalf of the various schools in the school district. It is a valuable service that is provided. They are always good to thank us and to make sure we know that they do appreciate that. I enjoy working with the person at the school district that's responsible for that. They're always nice and kind and considerate. I think they would be open to a discussion of maybe
Keeping it in check.
prioritizing and understanding that we need to be judicious about our requests and the amount of money that it takes to actually fund those requests, and the impact on the road budget is substantial. That would be my suggestion.
To go out and evaluate them, say this doesn't need it, this doesn't, I think if they think they need it, we gotta look at it. We gotta look at doing it, but could they not, I don't know, budget, let's just say kind of what Steve said, we thought we had, let's say, 600,000. Could they not budget 300? And like, say that was split, that would contribute to us?
Yes, sir.
For
So
that?
it would really just be a function of their board agreeing that they should budget some sort of maintenance.
Right.
That's what I would like
parking
for
areas.
our people, mainly Mike and his bunch, to get with the school district and their people and, you know, look and see how much we've spent.
Well,
And then, I don't know what the balance of the dollars, but at
No,
least we
right.
could come up with a budget.
But they don't have any
Well, the
equipment, I
other,
understand.
the other thing is though, we just, only thing I'd like, personally, I'd like to see Mike maybe go talk to them and get their repaving plan. I'm sure they got plans to repave over the next few years or whatever their road maintenance plan is, and then let's adjust it on that same side. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure they've got a plan because they do put the
Yes.
base layers down. We just patch.
Yep.
And I agree with Brad, it hadn't been done in a while, so
15,
there's
20
constant potholes. I mean, I've got
Right.
11 schools in my area that we do a lot of patchwork there, but
Yes.
I haven't seen a whole lot of overlay happening. We don't do the overlay, obviously. So I would like to see their plan, if it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because if they've got in their budget plans to overlay it, then that will cut down, obviously, on our patching. I'd just like to hear their plan, both from Pearl and Rankin County,
Yes.
that, where they, until I get their plan,
Yes.
I mean, we still gotta help them in my mind, so.
Yeah,
I
we do,
agree,
we do, and
we
I just think down the road, like, see, like, a good point. If we kinda can come up with a estimated cost, and we may wind up spending a little more, or next year, we won't even.
I know
we
y'all
won't
better
spend
be
as
careful
much.
about that, cause you know how when you start setting budgets and, you know, get closer in the year, we gotta spend this money, we got it budgeted, you know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just sure they've got a resurface
Don't they
plan.
usually come to y'all? I mean, I know Pearl does me whenever they need something
Yes.
and
They send an
ask for it.
order
And
in.
so y'all usually, you know, do you not tell them, it's a little much, you know?
No, I mean, they
We
send.
We
they
don't know
send
what
this
the
once
cost
this year.
is.
We don't know what it's gonna be,
all
Jay. It's
we know
just
what they
usually a
cost.
pothole. It's like fix
I'm
a
not talking
pothole.
about the amount of money, I'm talking about the amount of work that's being asked.
I mean, to
No,
a
it's
point,
just potholes.
I mean,
How
if we
you
got-
gonna tell?
If we got potholes in the parking lot, we
Yeah.
basically go, I say,
You go out and count
Yeah.
them, Daniel?
huh?
You go out and count your potholes?
I don't go count them, no, I
No.
don't count 'em.
That's what I'm saying, we don't know.
Well,
I
the,
can't
the
count.
potholes I looked at
See.
Saturday was base failure. And the only way you're gonna fix that is dig that out, put a new base in there, and resurface that thing. And I mean, you can go and patch it, but, I mean, it's
Well,
not
if
gonna
they have
stay.
to do that.
Well, I don't think potholes is really the big issue, is it?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's the number.
The number.
When you get a request that says, here are 14 schools in District 3.
well, I saw that
all
list
of
today,
which
it was
need
huge.
Pothole
No
repair.
doubt.
There were 28.
It adds up.
But I
Yeah.
think a lot of that also has to do with not doing a bunch of overlays.
Yeah.
So they hadn't overlaid them.
Or
and
seal,
got them in,
or
yeah,
seal
or got them in a
parking
good
lot.
shot,
Yeah.
or good shape.
That's
so-
an excellent point. I think their point would be, well, we're not asking you to actually overlay anything, we just need it patched, right? And that's really what they requested, they wanted it patched.
Right.
It looks like an efficient thing, it's just the number, the
And
sheer
each year it's gonna
number.
keep growing if they
Yes.
don't, if there's not
Right.
seal put down or something done to it.
So about,
Like Jay said, we've been doing it, I guess.
probably
As long as I can
6
imagine.
years ago,
28 requests.
I'm looking at Mike because I want to remind you guys of this.
Yeah.
About 6 years ago,
But
we
it's
were
close
running,
in
we were
years,
running
it
into
could
some
do it earlier.
issues with
I understand.
school bus turnarounds.
That's just for-
And we addressed that issue with the school district, and they were quick to respond to help us with that. Now, I'm sure we've had some hiccups here and there, but they are much better about addressing school bus turnaround issues
Right.
on a more efficient basis. They allow us to do a lot of that work as we are coming into the tail end of our heavy season. When you start talking about that's school bus turnarounds, okay, so that's a
Right.
different animal.
Right.
But when you start addressing the actual school property issues,
Right.
you have a very short window of opportunity to get that work done where it can be done without a lot of problems, logistics, asking people to move cars or stay off of parking areas. This is that time frame. So what we need to work on, I think, is just what is the way that we can be the most efficient to help them with their needs, prioritize those needs, and take advantage of this window
Right.
of time, right?
Right.
So we can do that. We'll do it like we did with school bus turnaround and just see if we can have some conversation. But I appreciate Brad bringing it up. I had no clue that it was that level of expenditure.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That's it.
Anything else? Anybody else got anything else? Keith, you look like you're on the edge of saying yes.
Motion to recess?
All right, motion recess, but Daniel, second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right.
When we doing that?
I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet. I'm gonna try.